Saturday morning to you. I'm Kristen Dodd alongside Marshall Cease. A lot of folks getting ready to head to the track this morning for the Kentucky Derby.
Boy, that's the truth, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of races, of course, take place before the big show, and it's a lot of fun. It definitely is.
I guess it's an event, too, that's a week long. I mean, it's not just Derby Day, it's Derby week for folks in Louisville.
They have a lot of festivities, and they spend weeks beforehand getting ready for it. We're hoping the weather is going to cooperate with it.
Yeah, and they've done it for 124 years. This is the 124th running.
They've got the routine down pat by now.
They sure do. Looks like a chance for a thunderstorm this afternoon. Kristen will have all those details for you in just a minute. First, we'll take a look at current weather. First, the water vapor imagery. Kristen and I were just talking. This is very, very difficult to pattern that we're in, because depending upon where you are, you're going to see a rain shower. It might be 3 in the afternoon for you, and then maybe the sun peeks out an hour later and it's kind of soggy out there, and you're out there on the golf course, and then a thunderstorm rolls in. And the timing issue is the issue as these pieces of energy rotate around this broad trough of low pressure in the east, and they all have an influence on the weather in little different ways. This morning we've had very heavy rain up around Boston and Hyannis and Martha's Vineyard and much of southern New England. The water vapor imagery shows that we've got some dry air that's moving into southern New England. Now that's good news. It's going to cut the rain off. We'll probably get the golf round in, the tennis match, and the jog this morning without getting too wet. But the stabilization of the atmosphere goes downhill as the sun comes out later this afternoon, and there's a chance for some thunderstorms to develop and some rain showers maybe late in the day. Now, that's because that piece of energy is rotating to the north. But behind it, we have another piece of energy that's lifting northward, and that's going to increase the clouds and bring some scattered rain showers to folks in New York City today. And over in Pittsburgh, it looks like it's going to be off and on again rain showers, so you better take the rain suit if you're heading for the golf course. And this pinwheel that's moving down through the northern plains in the northwest flow, it's on the west side of that big trough, that's going to dive down and carry a front with it, and we'll set up a situation in Oklahoma later today, and in Texas and in Louisiana, for some very strong thunderstorms to develop, with some very cold air at the mid-levels of the atmosphere that are going to be moving into some very unstable air. We'll also increase the shearing environment later this afternoon and this evening. And what all that means is that the threat, and the Storms Prediction Center indicates that it is a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms to develop. There could be straight-line wind damage from these. Bow echoes are expected, possibility of supercell developments. You name it, if it's of a severe variety, that's what we're looking for today in this region of the country. And because of that very cold air at the mid-levels, a good chance of hail damage, too, with large hail from these storms. Meanwhile, out west, we have another trough that's been spinning off the California coastline, and that is spewing energy into California. And as that energy moves northward, well, it starts some thunderstorms that, for example, happened yesterday around Oregon, in Twin Falls, Idaho, and around the Portland area in Corvallis. Had thunderstorms that dropped hail, strong thunderstorms too. Now today it looks like mostly rain showers out west, but still in all, unsettled conditions all over the country, excluding maybe Montana and Wyoming and portions of western Nebraska, but very unsettled conditions east of there. Heaviest rain has fallen over the last 24 hours. We're on the mid-Atlantic and the southern New England coastline, and as you can see here, we've got scattered rain from Atlantic City to Philadelphia, but there's breaks between it, but a lot of low clouds, drizzle, and light rain today. Roads are definitely wet if you're going to be traveling. Now, west of Hartford, the heaviest rain along Interstate 17 into New York, but we're seeing an end to the heavy rain in Boston and Falmouth as that rotates to the north. Here's the precipitation estimate over the last 24 hours just for this region. As you can see, very heavy from New York to Hartford, from about 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch, and locally even heavier than that. Another batch of heavy rain moving northward out of West Virginia. There are some flash flood warnings that have been issued for eastern Ohio, Guernsey County being one of those. And we'll detail some of those travel problems on TravelWise coming up to talk about those flash flood warnings and some of the arteries that they're affecting. Meanwhile, Tennessee getting some scattered showers moving through Crossville, Tennessee. That's headed to the east. Now, Louisville's right here. We've got some rain moving through now, but it looks like later today that rain ends. We get a kind of a clearing, the possibility of a thunderstorm, but it looks like we might be out of the woods for the race. So these low-pressure systems, the cause of all the problems, 51 at Boston this morning, it's 57 in New York, 57 in Philadelphia. Southeast is looking just great this morning. We do have the setup for the severe weather out here, though, that is going to be the major problem, but we have no rain to report at all in the southeast today. That cold front is going to be slipping through Oklahoma and Texas and Louisiana. That's where the problems will be today in terms of severe weather. It's 55 right now in Little Rock, 51 in Dallas. Looks like in Houston at the Woodlands, the golf tournament's going to be okay. There's the spin in the atmosphere rotating over southern Minnesota, and that's where we are getting some rain showers around Rochester, Minnesota, and St. Paul, and some more out in western Nebraska. All right, we're going to be watching this same scenario over the next couple of days, and for the short term, here's Kristen with the forecast.
And again, a look at your current picture with the rain in the northeast and some showers in the Midwest. As that system dies farther south, we'll see it interact with plenty of moisture in the lower levels, and especially by late in the afternoon and into the early evening hours. This is the area where we could see some severe weather. Other areas will also be seeing some heavy downpours, up to a half to 1 inch possible here, including St. Louis, and also many spots in the northeast. And again, the strong storms could stretch all the way to the mid-Atlantic region. Will also be a bit breezy today as you're making plans to head on out. Looks like from Des Moines up to Minneapolis, those wind gusts will be between 15 and 25 miles an hour. So the forecast for the northeast shows that rain in place. It's going to be on and off and on and off in many spots. We're looking for a high in Syracuse of 62. Boston, you'll reach 64 degrees today.
And there's some problems on the roads out there. We'll tell you where on TravelWise coming up after your local forecast.
You Americans work too hard.
If you ask me, you could use a holiday in a place it's made for it. Australia.
Where summer's in December, just when you need it the most. For the winter, though, you need to throw on something a little warmer.
When you hear g'day,
G'day,
and catch yourself saying it back.
although you'll be saying it with a funny accent.
The zoos and museums are always open.
For a day in the water can include both the rainforest and the reef.
Where 2 weeks can fill the rest of your life with stories.
It's where your next holiday should be.
So why don't you pop on down? There's plenty of room.
To start planning your Aussie adventure, visit our...
What's the difference?